Welcome to Boston Free Radio's presentation of the Somerville Journal and the Somerville Times. I'm your host, Adam Kaplan, and today I'll be reading from the February 12th edition of the Somerville Journal and the February 4th edition of the Somerville Times. From the front page of the Somerville Journal, this one is entitled Mountains of White, City Running Low on Snow Storage Space, and it's by Danielle McLean. In the wake of a 3-day storm that added 2 feet of snow to Somerville's already blanketed streets, sidewalks, and yards, city workers and contractors are running out of places to put cleared snow. But as long as they stay under 70 feet, they're good. "We're up quite a bit. We're getting closer to the Mercedes sign," Zanelli said. "I think we're going to hold off." Zanelli told the Journal Tuesday the city's largest dumping ground, the old waste transfer site at the corner of Poplar and Linwood Streets, was almost filled to capacity. He said the mounds reached roughly 60 to 70 feet in height, and thanks to efforts to flatten out the summits of massive plateaus, another 20 feet of snow could still be stacked on top. Mayoral spokesman Dan DeMina said that the city is bringing in a snow melter from Logan Airport that will be set up at the transfer site to make room. He confirmed the site is running low on space, but said contractors were able to make room by shifting around snow from the top of the piles. The other city dumping sites, an area underneath I-93 along Temple Street and the old Chucky Harris Park on Cross Street, are almost filled as well. Zanelli Excavating is among several other snow removal companies working to clear up the city's streets, Zanelli said. The company, operating at a not yet negotiated rate, had 8 or 9 various types of trucks clearing snow throughout the city. He said compared to other area cities and towns, Somerville has rose to the new snow removal challenge and left its streets relatively clean. "I think they are doing an excellent job under the circumstances," he said. More on snow from the front page of the Somerville Times. This one's entitled Second Snow Assault Hits the Northeast by Jim Clark. Just as residents and city workers began to make noticeable headway in digging out from last week's record-setting blizzard, a second front blasted through the region on Monday, piling on more snow and bringing otherwise routine activities to a standstill. Nearly a foot of additional snow fell on the city, adding aggravation and additional toil to all those involved in keeping their sidewalks, driveways, and roads clear for safe passage. A new snow emergency was declared on Monday that remained in effect until Tuesday evening. While most city offices remained open and functional, Somerville public schools were closed throughout the duration of the storm. The additional snowfall left many residents feeling overwhelmed with the accumulated masses of snow that have been building up along curbsides, street corners, and just about anywhere it can be temporarily moved to. Work crews were out in force, operating more than 100 pieces of snow removal equipment throughout the city. Ultimately, many have reported that Somerville's streets stayed remarkably well kept in comparison to neighboring municipalities. The cleanup effort is expected to continue throughout the remainder of the week. Moving away from the snow, this one's entitled Sunday Fair Provides Families an Opportunity to Learn About World Cultures, and it's by Jason Andrew Park. Under a row of Chinese paper lanterns hanging from the ceiling, children and their parents danced to music, engaged in arts and crafts, and participated in various cultural activities from around the world. These families were attending the 2015 Somerville World's Fair, hosted at the Center for Arts at the Armory this past Sunday. The fair, organized by Cultural Care Au Pair, aimed to expose young children to the world's many different cultures. "We are helping families have an experience around the world, through languages, songs, and crafts," said Carrie Lavin, the local development director of Cultural Care Au Pair. Levin adds, "We hope that people really get the chance to embrace a cultural experience in something that is outside their circle." Cultural Care Au Pair is a national au pair agency that pairs young adults from around the world with families. The young adults, called au pairs, provide childcare in exchange for a place to live and the opportunity to learn about Western culture. The agency recruits from more than 20 countries and aims to provide a culturally and educationally enriched experience for both the host family and the individual au pairs. According to Lavin, more than 130 people, including children and their parents, attended Sunday's event. Families were able to travel the world by visiting different booths run by au pairs from Italy, France, Mexico, China, and Germany. Each booth featured different hands-on crafts and storytelling activities. At Sean Laura Huang's booth, children learned to make Chinese paper lanterns. "We, my host family and I, help each other. I wanted to share with people what I know about my country, and I wanted to learn about the Western culture, Huang explained. Huang, a former teacher from China, said she became an au pair to travel the world and share her experiences with others. Sunday's fair gave her an opportunity to do so. The fair, Lavin added, was the company's way of giving back to the Somerville community where cultural care au pair have worked for over 25 years. We enforce the cultural aspect. We think it's really important that people embrace that, and it's not just about childcare to us. We really wanted to show what we're doing to help families, Lavin said. This next one is from the front page of the Somerville Journal, and it's entitled, A Team Effort, Cops and Teens Bond Through Basketball, by Danielle McLean. The game came down to the wire. Team Red and Team Blue traded leads on the basketball court at the East Somerville Community School February 6th before 17-year-old Christina Harding sank a clutch three-pointer in the final minute to give Team Blue the 47-46 victory. But despite the nail-biting tension, the teams, each made up of a mix of Somerville youth and Somerville police officers, shared handshakes, laughs, and pizza at game's end. Carlo Gurton, a member of Team Red, said that wasn't what several of his friends expected. He said they refused to play in the game out of fear that they would be victimized by police brutality if they happened to win. That kind of fearful and unfriendly relationship between police and youth is what Gurton and his fellow members of teen empowerment are hoping to change, on both sides of the equation. A lot is going to change because of things like this, Gurton, who is 18 and black, told the Journal. Police are going to realize all kids are not up to trouble. Just because they look like it doesn't mean they are. For Gurton, Harding, and other teens at the game, many of whom are of color, there was a time when the prospect of sharing the court and making friends with police officers seemed like a pipe dream at best. They told the Journal they, or friends and family, have suffered police brutality or overreach. Friday's game, which was hosted jointly by SPD and Teen Empowerment, featured 15 police, 15 teens, and more than 100 spectators, and was intended to create a dialogue between the two sides and allow them to get to know each other on a personal level. And the dialogue did not start with the game. Both sides had been planning the event during several meetings over the last few months, where they have been able to air out their grievances and biases that they have for each other. In the past few months, Somerville has seen several significant protests following the killings of unarmed black men Eric Garner and Michael Brown by police last year, including a march through Davis Square in December and the blocking of I-93 on the Somerville-Medford line in January. Somerville Police Chief David Fallon, who played in Friday's game, told the Journal protesters had shed light on how police have mistreated minorities, but he said teens and police collaborating with each other over a game of basketball is a far more effective solution to the problem. I think if anybody in Somerville feels disenfranchised, it's a problem. Even if there's one person who feels left out of the progress that Somerville's making, Fallon said. I think to me, people have the right to protest and that accomplishes an agenda, but this moves the ball forward to me. This is the police and the community doing it together, not at odds, not at a line. Somerville officer Tim Van Nostrand agreed. He told the Journal during a timeout the officers at the basketball game came of their own accord as a way to get to know teens on a personal level and give teens a chance to do the same with police. I think if you are able to build the relationship that we are building tonight, instead of just a blanketed opinion of police, they will have a more personal relationship, Van Nostrand said. It might build up to the point where they may have a question about something legally, some advice. Now they feel comfortable coming to us for advice. That comfort level has not been there in the past, said Gurton, who hoped the basketball game will help police realize that large, teenage black men like himself are not targets for suspicion. Gurton told the Journal that last year police assumption unnecessarily destroyed a surprise birthday party which his mom and friend threw for him at his Medford Street home. He said he was unsure of the details, but somehow a man he did not know and who was not involved with the party led police on a foot chase that ended in front of his home. Suddenly, he said, police entered his home and abruptly began unplugging all the music, tore down everything around the house, messed up his yard, dumped out all of their non-alcoholic juice, and shut down the party. He said officers never apologized or asked whose party it was, but if they had engaged with him on a personal level, the outcome might have been different. Probably they would have talked to me and shut the party down nicely, Gurton said. Harding, who is black, told the Journal police slammed her 27-year-old brother's head against a cruiser after breaking up his Halloween party last year. Her brother and 2 other men were arrested, and Harding said that her brother suffered headaches afterwards. She said teen empowerment has allowed her to change her attitude towards police. I used to hate all of the cops, all of them. Now I realize they are not all bad. They are not how I thought they were, Harding said. Right now as kids, the teens call them the pigs, the 5-0, the boys, and I feel like if they get a chance to do what we are actually doing, they will get a chance to know them and see that not all cops are like that. Teen Empowerment Somerville Program Director Danny McLaughlin told the Journal his program takes a proactive approach by eliminating the distrust between police and teens before it becomes a potentially fatal problem. We are trying to work with people. We're trying to work with police. I think it's the idea when you get youth and police together, you can stop those problems before they happen, McLaughlin said. If that police officer had known Michael Brown and they knew each other beforehand, that circumstance would have never happened. For a look to the future, we turn to some commentary from Somerville Mayor Joe Curtatone on page 10 of the Somerville Times. As organizers and community leaders work to put together an Olympics bid for Metro Boston, we need to cast our thoughts to 2124, not 2024. I support bringing the Olympics to Boston, if done right, which does not include a velodrome in Somerville. With thoughtful planning, I believe hosting the Games could create an opportunity to deliver civic benefits to our region and to Somerville. We should not be planning to host a 3-week party. Instead, we should be looking to dovetail Olympic preparations with community building initiatives. We pride ourselves in being national and international thought leaders, and a Boston bid should advance the Olympic ideal, using the Games as a transformative event to better the lives of the people in the city and region where the Games take place. It should be noted up front that a Boston Olympics poses a stern test for regionalism. Area-wise, Boston is a small city. Certain events will have to take place outside the city limits. Many, likely even most, of the visitors for the event would need to stay outside the city. An Olympic Games naturally would spill over into municipalities like Somerville, Cambridge, Revere, Brookline, Newton, and Quincy. We have to work together to make the Olympics a successful event. Enormous strides have been made during the past decade to end our historical fractionalism, but this would mark a whole new level of shared regional stakes. Infrastructure stands out as a leading regional issue. The MBTA connects many of our communities together, and it would require a forklift upgrade in order for Boston to host a Summer Olympics. Many of the necessary improvements have been identified. The Green Line extension has its funding identified and is underway. The Blue-Red connector and North-South connector linger as needed improvements. Modernized car stock, upgraded tracks, and improved signaling systems all would require attention. That doesn't even touch on the Urban Ring project, expanding existing lines into underserved communities, improving service to Logan Airport, or developing high-speed rail throughout New England. An Olympics would necessitate, and draw federal funding for, a radically different MBTA. However, infrastructure involves more than rail lines. Roadways, bridge work, and traffic patterns need to be addressed. Pedestrian and cycling infrastructure needs to be added. For instance, collapsing the McGrath Highway overpass in Somerville would need to be fast-tracked, as would major alterations in how you get from Boston to Quincy. We have older sewer and water lines that need to be replaced. Our electric and communication grids cry out for modernization. Metro Boston relies on too many remnants of the 20th and 19th century infrastructure that need to be retired. Then we come to housing. According to a recent Metropolitan Area Planning Council report, if we truly wish to address affordability and unmet housing demand, the Boston area needs more than 435,000 new housing units by 2040. In Somerville alone, the report calls for up to 9,000 housing units in that time frame. Our regional housing shortage requires all hands on deck, and it can't just be 1- and 2-bedroom condos for young professionals and empty nesters. We need to figure out housing for families as well, which requires more living space and reasonable prices. A Boston Olympics done right should embrace smart growth principles to net us thousands of new housing units, and housing units, not a hulking velodrome, would be a great fit for Somerville. Schools need to be a part of the mix as well. Olympic infrastructure could be converted into public schools, new school facilities, or needed additions to our public college system. Also, sustainability should be weaved into all of the Olympic planning. The event should be used to lower our regional carbon footprint. If Metro Boston doesn't emerge from a massive undertaking like this, both cleaner and greener, we did it wrong. The Olympics call for the youth of the world to assemble every 4 years, but to what end? Sport and community are the ideals of the Olympics. Yet the youth of the world faces a very real challenge in terms of climate change. The Olympics needs to leave each city where it lights its flame as a beacon for how modern societies can embrace a more sustainable future. Boston should offer itself up as the first of hopefully many to embrace that sort of transformation. Finally, Boston's Olympics should be a model of civic engagement. We should plan via community processes that tap into high ideals and innovative thinking of our population, modeling how true citizen participation yields better results. In Somerville, our residents shaped the more than 500 goals for our 20-year comprehensive plan, Summer Vision. Surely the engaged citizens of Greater Boston should unite in a public process to pool our best thinking on how to leverage the Olympics for needed community benefits. This should be an Olympics of the people, by the people, for the people. The mere thought of hosting an Olympics seems daunting to many people, like a massive undertaking. Done right, it should be a massive undertaking, one with goals that extend far beyond the games themselves. The municipalities that constitute Greater Boston share many of the same goals that we're trying to tackle in piecemeal fashion. The Olympics presents an opportunity to leap forward on some of the most pressing issues such as transportation, infrastructure, and housing. A true Boston Olympics should be one where we go to the International Olympic Committee and say, "This is how you do it better." We should be guided by John Winthrop and John F. Kennedy, using the Olympics to make Boston a true city upon a hill. That's the Olympics I want Metro Boston to pursue, and I remain hopeful that we can achieve it. Turning back to the front page of the Somerville Journal, we have a story of inconvenience and potential danger. Fears of roof collapse shut city schools. Snow buildup of 3 to 6 feet on roofs lead to week-long cancellation, by Danielle McLean. Somerville officials have canceled school for the entire week following fears of possible roof collapse due to snowdrifts on top of buildings. At a press conference February 11th, Mayor Joe Curtatone and School Superintendent Tony Pierantozzi said that they couldn't guarantee that the city buildings, including the schools, were structurally sound. "We wanted to keep our children and staff safe. That led us to this decision," Curtatone said. "The condition of the buildings, with the bearing of the weight on the buildings, is a concern. We need to address this before we reopen our schools," Pierantozzi said. He said he's examining options to make up an extra day of classes, including using April break. Curtatone said snowdrifts are 3 feet high on many buildings and up to 6 feet on some. Officials began examining buildings earlier this week after seeing reports of other roofs in the area collapsing under the weight of snow. Pierantozzi said the school administration office building at 42 Cross Street has cracks in its walls and a bend in structural beams in a storage room. Pierantozzi said the city's policy in the past has been to let snow on the roofs sit and melt over time, but the buildings have consecutive blasts of multiple foot accumulations over the past few weeks, including a 3-day storm over the weekend that added another 15 inches. Curtatone said it is usually difficult to get contractors to clear snow off roofs on a regular basis due to lack of availability. Some buildings, such as the Brown School, have sloped roofs and are able to handle snow accumulations, but buildings with flat roofs are in greater danger, Pierantozzi said. And several of the city's schools are old, with parts of the high school dating back to 1872 and less structurally sound. While the high school received roof repairs after suffering significant damage from Hurricane Sandy in 2012, Pierantozzi said workers only repaired the roof's membrane, which keeps leaks out but doesn't address structural problems. Curtatone said officials are consulting with the building's insurer to see if any roof damage is covered by insurance and are hiring a contractor to assess all the buildings to make sure they are structurally sound. He said he did not have a contractor yet and did not know the cost of the assessment, but said he would spare no expense. "We will not take the risk of any one person being injured just to open up a building," Curtatone said. Somerville students will have missed 9 days of school by Friday, Pierantozzi said. The schools have currently scheduled all potential makeup days and are closing on June 30th. But that leaves a mandated day of education left to reach the required 180-day mark. Pierantozzi said he will look into getting a waiver from the state allowing Somerville to skip that last day. But he will also be sending parents a survey to determine the best possible time for a makeup day. He said options include Good Friday, a day of April break, and a Saturday in March. Officials push for pay raises for new workers. Say current salaries don't attract high-level staff, by Danielle McLean. City officials say Somerville's department head salaries are too low to attract candidates for vacant positions and are pushing for a 3% raise. Somerville has recently been losing out on qualified candidates that applied for various managerial positions to other cities and towns like Framingham that are paying more, City Personnel Director Bill Roche told the aldermen at a February 5th committee meeting. The plan would also raise the maximum amount that non-union city workers can earn through raises by 3%. Aldermen at the city approved the plan, and the full board will vote on the proposal at its scheduled February 12th meeting. I think it's a good plan, good course of action, and I'm likely to be in support of the proposal, at-large Alderman Jack Connolly said at February 5th meeting. The city last raised the bottom step, or starting wage, of its non-union employees back in 2012. But the city's assistant personnel director, Candace Cooper, said at the meeting there are 20 positions currently open, about 7 of which are managerial positions, and the city is having trouble filling them. She said the salaries the city is offering are not competitive with the municipal market. The problem is we are having trouble recruiting, especially department heads, directors, managerial type positions, Cooper said. According to a personnel department handout, there are 7 pay grades which non-union city workers can earn based on their position. Roche said the city's Classification Compensation Advisory Board will review whether each position is in the appropriate pay grade. Currently, employees in the lowest pay grade earn $35,000 as their starting salary, with the $45,756 maximum salary cap. With the changes, those employees would earn a $36,050 starting salary with a $47,129 pay cap. Employees in the highest pay grade currently earn $95,000 starting salary with a $124,196 pay cap. With the changes, they would earn $97,850 starting with a $127,922 cap. Roche said non-union positions are on a 10-step scale, meaning there are 10 levels of pay an employee can earn. Employees earning at salary cap are on the 10th step of the pay scale. But Roche said around 95% of those employees never reach the 10th step. He later told the Journal there are no employees currently earning the maximum salary.